Do you want to know why child behavior is getting worse over the years? Well, you are not alone. We're all noticing it. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the timeline of parenting and child behavior. In this video, we're going to talk about child behaviors and what we're seeing now with child behaviors around us, how that compares to past generations, and then we're going to talk about what we can do about it. So what are some of the bad child behaviors that you are seeing? Are you seeing the blatant disregard of parental authority? That's a thing. Are you seeing total disrespect, even by toddlers, to their parents? That's a thing. Attitude problem, that's a thing. Isolation, children going into isolation and not bonding with their family members, not talking to them, not going to parents for help with solutions to problems, that's a thing. Are you seeing children do incredibly risky behaviors that put their lives in danger? That's a thing. There are so many things that are happening. There's so much wildness. I mean, there's a lot more identified neurodiversities than there has been in years past. We could say, well, does that have something to do with it? Do we just have more neurodiversity now than we did before? Well, that's an interesting thing. If that's the case, does that mean our gene pool is messed up? Or does that mean we're putting something in our diets or in our bodies or something that's leading to a change in behavior for our children? Or is there more to it than that? Could it be that people also had neurodiversities many years ago, but they weren't catered to? They weren't coddled, because that's what we're seeing right now. And this is probably one of the biggest problems. There's multiple that we could discuss. There's many distractions. There's parents not understanding what to do. They don't have the skills to handle the issues. We're going to handle that in just a minute as we talk about what to do. But also, everyone is emotionally drawn in to everyone's behaviors. So there's victim mentality that is absolutely on the rise. And because of that, there's more emotional entitlement that's happened. We're going to therapy for the solutions to our problems instead of to any behavioral adjustment that needs to happen, and even to parenting. So parents are finding someone else to fix a problem instead of knowing how to fix it themselves. This is actually symptomatic of our times. Maybe it's because parents are busy. They're like, I don't have time. Maybe they're like, oh, I'm not an expert in that. I need to find an expert in that. Maybe we are putting experts on too high of a pedestal and not learning the skills that we need. I don't know. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but a big one is that coddling. That's huge. There was a book, it's actually a series of books. One was called The Coddling of the American Mind. One was called The Canceling of the American Mind. These two books had 4 untruths that were in them. And I think they give us a little bit of an insight into this entitlement problem, this coddling problem, this over-therapizing. I just made that word up. That just means giving therapy for everything to our children, right? And what's happening instead of actually stepping into that parental role. I'm not even sure people understand roles, which is actually why I had to write this book called Roles, The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success, because people are actually struggling knowing even who they are to each other in their own families. So in the books, The Coddling of the American Mind and The Canceling of the American Mind, the 4 untruths are these. Number 1, always follow your feelings. That sounds really squishy and nice. It sounds comfortable, you know? In fact, we're a little obsessed with comfort. I think that discomfort is like seen as the new cholera or something. Like, it's the worst thing if I'm not comfortable. And so everyone goes toward that, parents and children, comfort. And so they're constantly following their feelings instead of any thoughts associated with their feelings. In fact, the feelings are driving the thoughts. They're controlling the thoughts. So it's the body voice that's taking over the brain voice and the heart voice entirely for the population. So then once we add that with the second untruth that they identified in those books, which is what doesn't kill you makes you weaker, now you have to say, I felt something And so now I have to carry it with me forever. I am now weaker because of it. I'm a victim because of it. My life is so sad because I had that feeling, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get over it until somebody else has paid restitution for my feeling. So then there's this kind of blaming, searching out whose fault it was that I had a feeling, instead of me knowing what to do with my own feelings and how to think through them and problem solve through them. The third untruth is there's good people and there's bad people. Okay, and now that's it. That's all you got. And so who gets to decide? Maybe the victim? So if I feel something and I have to carry that, and you were the person who said it or did it that made me feel that way, supposedly made me, right, feel that way, well then you must be a bad person. Because I know I'm a good person. I'm not going to tell anyone I'm a bad person, right? Do you see the dialogue that then it's all infused into the way that we process everything that's going on around us? So then the fourth untruth is good people only do good things and bad people only do bad things, which means that once you have done something that I don't like, then that means I can't trust you forever. You must be a bad person. You must be just against me. So this is why children are actually turning on their parents. Children are saying, well, I want a phone. Well, you can't have a phone because, you know, that phone could take control over you. If you can't control it, it will control you. And you're not self-governing yet. You're not controlling yet. I don't think it's time yet. So then the child gets mad because they feel different than their friends, or they feel upset that they didn't get what they wanted. So now they have to carry that in a backpack of feelings. And they recognize that now because that was a bad thing that happened, that their parent must be bad. And no matter what, they're always going to be bad. They're not going to look out for them. And that's it. And so it's just like absolute thinking, okay? You go down this emotional track where you are thinking in absolutes. This leads toward a lot of problems for people. A lot. And it takes a lot of cognitive work to undo all of that stuff that's happened. And if you never meet anybody who's strong enough cognitively to help put that into question, to pull you out of that, then you might actually always struggle, which is really unfortunate. So there's the just myriad of things, okay? And I focused really heavily on those untruths and the emotional coddling, because I think that's huge. I mean, all the anxieties, all the things, I don't think we'd see those as big of a problem if we didn't coddle them. And I think that there's some people who think, well, yeah, but we can't just ask people to stuff them. True. Oh, wow. I could do a full video on stuffing. Maybe I did. I don't know. I have so many videos now. I might have. But stuffing is different than dropping the subject and moving on. So when you stuff, you keep ruminating again and again and again, which means you carry the victim mentality. You never stop carrying the victim mentality, which means you have convinced yourself you are a victim. But when you're able to just drop the subject and let it go and move on, you say, okay, well, that was a hard minute that I went through, but that's not going to define me. And you know what? I don't really want to carry that with me. So I'm going to move on. And they learn how to just accept a no answer, that life isn't perfect, and they move on. And they give people new chances. And they realize people can develop and grow. Even a lot of parents right now are putting their children in boxes. They're like, you know what? I'm done with you. I've tried with you. You don't care about me. You're not respecting me. You know what? I don't even think I want to be your parent anymore. I mean, they're literally being that absolute in their thinking about their own children. They're being that selfish because they're buying into the same emotional coddling and misinformation, untruths that the rest of society is buying. So we could talk about technology, we could talk about all kinds of things that are leading to some of the problems that we're facing, but I want to just tell you something. Parenting and child behaviors and trends in that actually go cyclically. They don't go in straight lines up and down. Okay, so we may look at where we were when we were parented, like, okay, when I was a child, you did not talk back to parents, and now they're all talking back, telling parents everything to do, and we can't even teach them, right? So that looks like a downhill slide. But it wasn't too long ago that there was a group of people who were doing the same kind of thing that these youth, well, mine are grown, but in a lot of people's homes right now. So because it goes cyclical, all right, we get parents that know who they are, what they stand for, the skills that they need to use, and then they get a little bit slack, they get a little bit selfish, they get a little bit angry, angry. Then all of a sudden there's this shift toward, you know what, I'm angry, I don't like myself, and they don't like me, so I'll go modern progressive and just like hands off. And then they get wild, 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 wild because the parents are losing their role. They've given it up. They've turned it over to the media or social media or whoever it is. And then all of a sudden, the parents go, what has happened? This is a problem, which is, I'm guessing, why you're actually on this video in the first place. And then all of a sudden they're like, I gotta learn stuff. So let's talk about what you need to learn, okay? Because I got a lot of things for you that can really be beneficial for you. There's a video that I'm gonna talk about at the end of this video that I highly recommend that you watch. So I teach all about self-government. I've worked with the hardest behaviors, the hardest youth. We're talking teens, toddlers, all of them, for many years, and thousands and thousands and thousands of households have found teaching self-government and have found healing. They've changed. Their hearts have changed. Their family dynamics and unity have changed. It's been so good for them. And so I know that the stuff that I teach actually works. It liberated me. It liberated my husband. He was more bully fear-based. I was probably leaning a little bit more modern progressive and would occasionally lose it. And then we came together with a plan for how to do a type of parenting that would teach skills to children and to us so that we could hold ourselves accountable and not just creatively try to manipulate with our own emotions, which is what so many parents try to do. The type of parenting I teach involves skills. So there's 4 basic skills for the children. They learn how to follow instructions, accept no answers and criticism, accept consequences, disagree appropriately. They learn how their brain works. They learn about self-regulation. They learn skills for honesty. They learn all kinds of things. And then there's the parent skills. The parent skills are all about being calm, how the parent can self-regulate, how they can help a child who's going out of control choose that self-regulation in the minute, and how they can also correct behaviors, pre-teach behaviors, prepare the family to all take ownership of where they're headed as an entire united family unit. I want to teach you so much more about this, and so here's the free class. It's a full-length class. It's called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. Go to that class right now. Learn a new method of parenting. It'll take you about an hour, but it'll be worth every minute, I promise. I'll see you there.